Hello, and welcome back to the Calm and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Janine Halloran, and today I want to talk to you about helping kids think outside of the box, helping them think creatively, think flexibly, and how can we encourage this as family members, as parents, as teachers, as educators, as school counselors? I think one of the greatest things we can do is to help them think outside of the box by using boxes, by allowing them to have some creativity and an opportunity to be creative and be flexible and think differently. So one strategy I love to use with kids is actually to use cardboard boxes. And one thing I do with kids is actually read this book called Not a Box. So I love this book because it's a great starting point, a great jumping off point to help kids get creative and to help kids think differently about what a box could be. So in this book, there's this little guy, and he has a box, and he is trying to think of different things he can do. And somebody asks him, "What are you doing on top of that box?" And he talks about it's not a box. So he goes through and he shows all these different things of this is not a box. It is a car. It is a mountain peak. It is a rocket ship. It is a house on fire that I'm putting out with a fire hose. So these are all things that this box can be that are different. But it's still a box. When it comes down to it, it's still the same box, but the rabbit is thinking creatively and thinking about different things he can do with that box. So it's a great jumping off point when you read this book and then you give kids a cardboard box. And it doesn't have to be a huge box. It could be a huge box or it could be a tiny shoebox, but it gets them the idea, it gives them the idea that they can be creative too. When they look at this box, they can think differently. So you give them a cardboard box and you put out all sorts of arts and crafts materials. Like you put out markers and crayons, pencils, construction paper, scissors, tape, glue, googly eyes, popsicle sticks, pipe cleaners. You can put all this stuff out and you can just say, you read the book to them and then you can say, it's your turn to create. You can create whatever you want with this box. It's really neat to see what sort of creations kids come up with. I believe my own kids, I think they created a restaurant or a drive-through window or a food truck even, I think, where they would serve these Play-Doh dinners on the cardboard box, which I thought was really cool. So this book is by Antoinette Portis. What I love is that not only do we have this book, Not a Box, but we also have Not a Stick. So that's another little guy, and he is using a stick and making a marching band, and using a stick and painting, and using a stick and doing all sorts of other different things. So you don't have to use just boxes. You can also do this with sticks. You can do this with other creative materials that you have laying around. You know, how do kids use things differently? And so I think it's really a cool way to encourage creative thinking, to encourage different thinking. And I love open-ended play because it gives kids that opportunity to use their imagination and use their flexibility and use their flexible brain to think and create. And there's no right or wrong answer. And that's what I actually really love about it, is that there's no perfect exemplar example of what they need to be doing. It's all from within them. And I think that really encourages that creative thinking, that thinking differently, that can help when you're working through problem solving. And it's huge when you can take a step back and take a look beyond what are the typical responses for coming up with solutions to a problem. That's huge. That's when real creative, good thinking happens. So I really love to use this because I think that's the beginning of kids being able to think differently about different problems and different ways of looking at the world and looking at and creating new things that they maybe didn't think of before. So I would definitely encourage you to maybe check these out of the library and encourage some creative open-ended arts and crafts projects as well. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Feel free to share with your colleagues or friends and let them know about us. You can subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And one last thing, don't forget about yourself. Have a great day.